Hello, this is Group 2's project for DPA 740, Week 6. Our task was to analyze and critique the collaborative governance associated with Lake Tahoe. Here's some background information for those who are unfamiliar with the area. The Tahoe watershed is situated between the states of California and Nevada. Of the 506 square miles, 2/3 of it is in California and the other third in Nevada. The lake itself, comprising of 38% of the area, is known for its crystalline blue waters and clarity. Lake Tahoe's collaborative governance formed with one goal in mind: to keep Tahoe blue. Over the course of keeping it blue, the process changed a few times. Initially, agencies and committees worked to maintain the quality of the lake. Disasters like the 1961 sewage spill attributed directly to this goal. Next was the bi-state collaboration between California and Nevada to control basin development. That didn't pan out well, leading to a newer committee-membered implementation plan for the development of new single-family homes, casinos, shopping centers, and outdoor recreational activities. The goal did not deviate, just modified to allow more developmental opportunity while preserving the look and feel of Tahoe. Although the Lake Tahoe Area Council was the very first organization to form, the complexity of this collaboration reeled in many more members throughout the decades. Currently, collaboration members come from local governments such as the City of South Lake Tahoe, regional agencies, Tahoe Transportation District, state agencies, Nevada State Parks, federal agencies, United States Forest Service. You also have academic institutions such as the University of California, Davis, and of course, private entities are involved as well, such as the Heavenly Ski Resort. The collaboration experienced some difficulties initially. However, it was ultimately a success with the entire Tahoe community benefiting from it. It even captured the attention of the United States Presidential Summit in 1997, when it was the first time that a president and vice president and other high-ranking federal and state officials had made a joint visit to Lake Tahoe. Part of the success could be attributed by the framework used. The collaboration incorporated traits needed for success: legitimacy, accountability, and the resources or rationale's dilemma.
Next, we'll be covering the frameworks. I will be discussing legitimacy, accountability, rationale, and dilemmas, and efficiency. Legitimacy is vital for agencies such as the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, also the TRPA, because they receive the support, contributions, and the resources to protect and preserve the city of Lake Tahoe, as well as South Lake Tahoe. According to Purdy, legitimacy refers to the ability of an organization to represent a discourse or speak on behalf of an issue in the public sphere. So, say for instance, in 1965, the Lake Tahoe Joint Study Committee, the LTJSC, created by Nevada and California state representatives, to pretty much develop a plan for the bi-state agency to control basin development. And then in return, Congress approved the TRPA to collaborate with LTJSC to put together this regional-wide development plan for future city projects. Therefore, by the LTJSC developing a legitimate plan, they received the approval from Congress to move forward with it. Moving on to accountability, what is it and why is it important? The arrival of the TRPA came with great disappointment from interest groups. So, for instance, the TRPA approved over 90% of projects to include large developments such as shopping centers and casinos, which in return caused the TRPA to face many lawsuits for being too friendly and to be cut from funding by the state of California. So in order to hold the TRPA accountable, they were required to develop a new plan that resulted in projects to be met with greater restrictions. As we move on to efficiency, what is it and how does it relate to the watershed of Lake Tahoe? In its earliest stages, the collaboration was mirrored with inefficiency. Beginning with the TRPA's creation, its objective was to regulate both development and environmental quality. This task proved to be too difficult for the agency to handle with the little success it had because of the decrease in the water quality affected development and new projects. Also, despite the water quality control to suffer, the focal point remained on the stringent land use and environmental regulations among competing basin interests. As we mentioned earlier, the TRPA's 90% project approval rate caused a revision of the key governing rules. This took a whopping 5 years of negotiation and conflict resolution. Some of these changes included the adopted system of 9 environmental threshold carrying capacities, basically a measuring metric for the following things important in the Tahoe Basin: scenic, water quality, air quality, noise, wildlife, solid conservation, fisheries, and vegetation. This also ties with accountability because basin actors had the opportunity to review the progress of TRPA's policy and periodic basis to measure their performance. This certainly gets in the way of efficiency because even if it was done perfectly, just adding these checks by default lead to more work. But the trade-off eventually pays off. Say for instance, in the 1991 and 1996 report, the findings created an incentive for basin actors to cooperate with the development of the Environment Improvement Program, the EIP. This would allow them to look over many projects and programs within a span of a 20-year period throughout the Lake Tahoe Basin. Another change in the coalition was adding non-local members to their committee. These members would provide expertise in things such as planning, designing, and additionally, any projects would now require 5 members out of the overall 9 to correspond with the state that permit is filed for. As we continue with efficiency, the TRPA's first attempt in approving the revised key rules were met with fierce opposition and lawsuits. As we all know how boggled down the court systems in the United States can be, it took another year for a federal court to issue an injunction against the TRPA in implementing its new rules. However, a new executive director of the TRPA led the way to positive change. For instance, a new dispute resolution process known as the Consensus Building Workshop was formed. It was here that an important compromise was made: the individual parcel evaluation system that ranks all residential lots in terms of their suitability for development and a transferable development rights program. This credit system, though subject to rules, allots local governments a certain number of development units, which is given out to the community as they see fit. Acquiring more credits is possible, though not economically feasible. However, this system allows for more flexibility on the part of individual landowners and development interests and helps reach the overall goal of limiting the total amount of impervious surface in the basin while allowing individual property owners to make their final resource allocation decision. Which again, circling back to accountability, this helps the collaboration to be held more accountable with specific members being identified. Although members still disagree with each other, they developed a mutual understanding which achieved that cooperation could be pursued in some areas. As a minute as they may be compared to everything else the collaboration has been through, this is a small step in being efficient. Time used while working together instead of used to bicker with one another. Lastly, another level of cooperation by the collaboration and working together to jointly lobby for additional federal support captured the attention of the presidential forum in 1997, making one of the first instances in significant efficiency in the collaboration. As we move on to rationale and dilemmas, the rationale behind having the TRPA organization was to represent the interests of all major stakeholders in the basin. It would consist of representatives from local governments in Nevada and California and would make all critical decisions. Furthermore, the dilemma behind the TRPA were the policy issues involving TRPA. This caused the agency from acting alone to cooperating with local, regional, and nonprofit agencies to work together and to come to a common understanding on basin policies.
There were other desirable success and attributes associated with the outcome. Agencies worked on developing trust amongst each other to eliminate the intense competition to control rulemaking and jurisdiction over resources. Environmental interests were satisfied because water pollution was removed from the basin, and casino and development interests were satisfied because it allowed development activity. Over 34 work groups have been organized around various policy issues involving the TRPA, resulting in it evolving from a central planning department to a coordinating agency. As other members worked with one another, they learned about their policies and procedures. This leads to more transparency and an understanding of how things are conducted. Working with one another also fosters more trust and leads to the reduced transaction costs associated with negotiating and implementing rules. It is extremely difficult, if not impossible, for organizations to see eye to eye on all matters. Even many of the core policy issues had disagreement between organizations. Yet, they are still able to find some common interests where they could work together on common grounds toward specific goals. Understanding shared problems and establishment of mutual interests helped unlikely members forge an alliance to work together. As one local business leader stated, having a common vision of what we don't want became a powerful motivator. One recommendation we had was to have the TRPA delegate which agencies should focus on environmental policies and issues and which agencies should focus on developments and projects. This will eliminate future problems on the environmental issues such as water quality problems and the decline in lake clarity, as well as future developments for casinos or residential homes. When all agencies focus on one area, other areas get neglected and issues arise. We believe it is crucial for the collaboration in continuing in its work, providing current research regarding its developmental regulations and policies, and it appears they are doing that. We believe that the Lake Tahoe collaborative governance owes its success to a few factors: the time from its inception to current day, the agreed mindset of all involved members, the consequences and adverse effects of non-participation, and notable events such as the Presidential Summit really help solidify the collaboration. The collaboration's decades-long history has shown that it has worked most of the kinks out, at least for now. For all intents and purposes, we believe that the collaborative watershed governance in Lake Tahoe is a success.